Hey, what's going on, everybody? Lee Sanders with you all for this Monday, July 27, 2026 edition of the RCWR show. Hope you guys been well. Hey, we are here, man. SummerSlam week, one of my favorite times of the year. I gotta say, some of the matches that's on the card for SummerSlam weekend, I'm pretty ecstatic for. Of course, we will definitely preview SummerSlam later on during the broadcast. Man, you guys definitely picked a great week to tune into this week's show because besides that, I'll also be sounding off for the very first time about this WWE SiriusXM deal and how we basically had everybody just looking sideways at Dave LaGreca and the boys over there at Busted Open, calling them sellouts and all this other craziness that's going on. Also have thoughts on the AEW Redemption pay-per-view event that happened over the weekend. Some thoughts on this past week's TNA wrestling, as well as one of the main features. It was a double feature. We had KC Navarro challenging Nick Nemeth for the TNA World Championship. We also had the Righteous. I keep wanting to call them the Righteous Brothers. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. And there's no tenderness like before in your fingertips. Okay, I'll stop. But no, the Righteous taking on the Hardys in a final deletion match that went down at the Hardy compound. I'll give you guys some thoughts about some of the stuff I saw from this past week's TNA wrestling. We also got the latest in headlines, all that fun, good stuff. So again, you guys picked a great time to tune in. Hope you all have been well. I am excited, man, because I am wrapping up some of my summer classes and I'll be able to chill for just a little bit until my fall semester kicks in. Doing well, got A's in my classes, although I got to say, I had an economics class and I had to withdraw from that class. I don't mind admitting when something was just woof, way over my head, but I had to dip out because I was doing the homework, everything. I was acing that perfectly. If I wasn't getting 100, I was getting, worst case scenario, a 95%. So before my first exam, I was sitting at an A plus and the total weight, we had 3 exams and each exam is 25% weight total on the overall grade for the course. So I took my first exam and I did not do good at all. I did not do good at all. And it dramatically hurt the hell out of my overall grade for the course. Sounds crazy, right? But like legit, I'm not pulling you guys' chain. I had to say, yeah. And then when I did more research, it turns out I actually was in the wrong econ class. I had no business even being in that one. It was recommended to me by my academic advisor, but she did tell me you could either go with this version of economics or you can go with this other version. And then reaching out to some of my classmates, they were like, yeah. You don't want to do that one, man. You're supposed to do this one instead. This is the easier one because this is more about terminology, slang, and just learning concepts, like no math solutions and none of that stuff. And it was like, so yeah, but otherwise went pretty good, man. Still protecting my GPA when it's all said and done. So got the family support. They totally are understandable and they are backing me 100%. Hey, before we dive into tonight's thoughts about what was it? WWE Raw was out there in Los Angeles and nice card. I mean, we got a new women's intercontinental champion there in Raquel Rodriguez. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns had one more face-to-face moment before their big match SummerSlam weekend. We had a weigh-in between Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. We had the weirdest, most questionable segment in recent Raw history. Of course, I'm talking about the Danhausen, Joe Hendry concert segment. we're going to talk about all of that. But yo, before we dive into the show, I want to just take this time out because as long as we've been on the air and we've been doing this since 2011, one of the main areas in the United States that has always shown my shows a lot of love is New York. So I got a personal message for my listeners in the New York area. In case maybe are not aware of this and everything, you may find this to be a little bit surprising, but some sad news had came about as we were going into the weekend. And when I found out about this news, I definitely was stunned. I was greatly disappointed. 59 years of age is just way, way too young to be passing this world. But for my people in New York, for those that were fans of uh, the the hardcore punk band Sick of It All, apparently its lead singer, and again, when I found out about this, I just was like, holy shit. But the Sick of It All frontman lead singer Lou Collar, he passed away at the age of 59 following a long fight against esophageal cancer. And his bandmates made the announcement on Instagram saying, it's with unbelievable sadness that we announce to our worldwide hardcore family the passing of our brother Lou Collar. Level of loss that we feel at this time is overwhelming. And what was really so just fucked up about Lou's passing and everything is the fact that it was just last year Lou had beat cancer. I put it in remission and everything, and there was some plans to, try to go on tour for the band and everything. And several weeks back, they ended up canceling a whole leg of tours that they were going to be doing because basically the cancer came back, and this time there was no kicking out from it. It's very unfortunate, and when I heard about Lou's passing, it definitely made me go, "Wow." So let me see if I got this straight. Even if you're maybe doing your thing and early detection, and you're doing your best to stay on top of your health, and you get your screenings, and okay, something's detected, you're able to get rid of it in time. uh you know eh, wow, like that should be it, right? That should be, because 59 is just so young, but then, oh shit, it comes back. I guess I'm at a loss for words, but I guess it was his time, right? But that I don't find comforting at all. Make no mistake about that. So definitely to Lou Collar's friends, family, colleagues, everybody in the hardcore scene, my thoughts, my prayers, my condolences are definitely with you all in your time of grief and loss. But yeah, the band, if you've never heard of them, I listened to a little bit of their music here and there, and I'll never forget. I remember one of the first times I had came across that band. It was from one of my colleagues back in the day, Don Tony and the Kevin Castle show. And I know Kevin Castle was very big into the metal scene, the rock scene, the hardcore scene. And if I remember correctly, he was actually close friends with the guys from Sick of It All, right down to the point that I think it was Kev that maybe, and hopefully I'm remembering the story right. And if not, apologies in advance. But I believe it was Kev that maybe has suggested the song. It's an iconic theme song when you think about the Don Tony Kevin Castle show. Say let's celebrate like we don't give up, um just iconic. Every time you hear that song you get so pumped up, and and you needed to hear that song when you would get those 3 hour, those 3+ hour WWE Raws, especially when they were dragging and everything. And that song would always just have a nice little way of kind of putting a jolt of energy up your ass and everything. And yeah, I remember one of the first times I had heard that song, I was like, wow, who is this band? This band sounds really, really cool. And one thing that was really awesome that I had loved seeing, and I wish that if Lou, wherever he is, if there is such thing as an afterlife, and there is such thing as a utopia in the afterlife, I hope that all the coverage and the flowers that he's continuing to get days since his passing, I hope it's taking him back and he's smiling, going, wow, I didn't know there was this much love and appreciation and respect. Like, wow, I hope he's taken back by it, because here I was over here, and one of the first times I heard about Lou's passing, it was through John Draper. Shout out to John Draper. I saw his post on social media and I was like, oh shit. And then as I went into that night and the weekend, my local, because I'm out here in Washington, D.C., my local Fox News station had actually covered his passing. And I was like, wow, cool. And then go on the Rolling Stone website. Rolling Stone even had did a piece on his passing and everything. And you're like, wow, that is, so it was, that's what's up. That's what's up, like seriously, because they are a great band. I'm not that familiar with their full entire catalog, but from a little bit of stuff that I heard, I did enjoy, and I definitely found myself going through some of the music over the weekend and everything. For you guys that's maybe interested in, maybe trying to figure out where you guys should start, you definitely want to check out 1989's Blood, Sweat, and No Tears, and pretty much go from there. I say go right for the jugular. I mean, that was their debut album. That's where everything had started. And then, like, every couple of years, they were just releasing an album. I mean, worst case scenario, maybe about 5, 6 years would pass between albums, but routinely they were putting something out every 2 to 3 years. Their last release was in 2018, Waking the Sleeping Dragon, and fantastic album. I listened to that through and through. Good shit. You definitely owe it to yourselves to check it out. So rest in peace, Lou, man. Rest in peace. Just cancer fucking sucks. That's all I gotta say about that. And while we're also talking about people that have passed, I also want to acknowledge the passing of filmmaker Chuck Russell, who passed away over the weekend at the age of 74. That name, it may not sound familiar to you guys, but he directed The Blob, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Warriors, which is one of my favorite installments in the Wes Craven Nightmare on Elm Street series. I just loved seeing, all the different characters. My favorite one was the guy in the wheelchair, and basically his powers is he's a wizard. And I thought of everyone that was going to be able to really stick it to Freddy Krueger. I thought for sure it was going to be him, and I still remember that infamous fight that dude had against Freddy Krueger. And at the very end, he's just running, little wizard. He's just running down. Were they fighting in a sewer or something like that? And he's just running. He's got the electrical lightning magic crap just shooting at Freddy Krueger, and Freddy is just oh, and Wizard is just running up to him, and he thinks he's got Freddy down, and then Freddy just fucking no sells at the very end, right when the Wizard gets close up to him, and he goes, "Fairy tales is over," and then he just there you go, he's dead. He gets killed in his dream. And of course, if you get killed in your dream, you die in real life and everything. If you've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, check that one out. Really good. He also did The Scorpion King and The Mask with Jim Carrey. I can't believe I almost forgot about that. That movie had really put Jim Carrey on the map and everything. So rest in peace to Chuck Russell as well. Lost two great folks there over the weekend. So let's talk about this WWE Raw. Let's burn through this. So, and you guys can sound off. Let me know what you think. We're not going to do a poll. I'm not going to. No, we'll save the poll stuff for SummerSlam weekend and all that other stuff, right? But if you want to sound off and let me know what you thought about it, you can interact a couple of ways, right? We're live for the next little bit. You can post a comment down below, right? If you're watching this for on demand, or maybe you want to grab my attention on Twitter/X, afterwards, right? After the stuff becomes available for on demand and downloads, you can just reach out that way as well. Let me know what you had thought about Raw this week. I thought that overall, a nice build up for SummerSlam weekend. I gotta say, I love how they kick things off with the Hell in a Cell steel cage being lowered as we're introduced to Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar for the weigh-in. We get Oba to come out first, and Oba, I gotta tell you guys, I was expecting Oba to strip on down to, if not his underwear, at least strip on down to his ring trunks. But we didn't get that. And instead, Oba was just no, and it wasn't a fantasy of mine or anything. You sickos. I know you. No, like legit, I thought we were gonna get that boxing, okay, UFC. Because when I first heard this, I didn't even know this was happening on tonight's Raw. Because normally before Raw comes on, I check out the preview like about an hour before the show comes on to get an idea on what I can expect. I didn't do it on this one. It totally slipped my mind. So when I heard weigh-in, I'm like, oh, they're going the UFC boxing route. Okay, so they're going to be in their underwear or whatever. Okay, cool. No, Oba pretty much got on the scale wearing his sweatpants, and he weighed 302 pounds. Then it was time for Brock Lesnar to come out there. Brock Lesnar decided on his way to the ring that he was going to lock the steel cage. So that's exactly what he did, as the key was left in the lock. So he pretty much helped himself, wrapped it up and all that. And I'm looking at this and I'm just scratching my head and I'm going, well, wait a minute. What is stopping Oba Femi from just saying to Triple H, Paul Levesque, and Adam Pearce, who were in the ring with them, okay, this dude wants to lock me in here, huh? Okay, well, tell your guys in the back to raise the cage. Like, that's how you can get Brock Lesnar. Just raise the cage if you want him that bad and everything. And we had Paul Heyman who was talking hot trash about Oba Femi while putting over Brock Lesnar. And let me tell you something from a media production standpoint. The worst possible thing that can happen, the worst thing that always drives us media heads crazy, is when we have issues during a live broadcast. And the number one pet peeve that we have the most is when there's audio issues. We cannot stand it. And so I really was feeling for the technical crew tonight because Paul Heyman's microphone went out like repeatedly. And you're going, wow, we're missing like whole sentences from Paul Heyman. What the hell's going on here? And I just couldn't help but go, fuck, get the guy a new mic already. Hurry up, get him a new mic, get him a new mic, get him a new mic. And bless Paul Heyman, he was doing his best to really wing it and trying to adjust on the slide and everything without missing a beat. And for those of you that might be a little bit curious, I mean, I can give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain a little bit. So, like, I don't know what the WWE guys are doing these days when it comes to testing out all the audio equipment, the XLR cables, and making sure everything is routed correctly and all that. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. We all know from experience and watching these shows, they normally run a really, really good, smooth broadcast, right? And so your guess is as good as mine if what happened during that segment, if the mic was faulty. I know sometimes if stuff isn't charged at like a decent length of time, then like that type of shit, it will happen. I don't know if maybe it was a signal issue, but there's like so many things. For those of you that's maybe wondering, like, well, hell, didn't they test this out like before they even? Yeah, yeah. I've been doing a couple of production joints where I've been in charge of the audio. And normally what I do, because I'm batshit crazy, when I'm miking my people up and everything, first I'm trying to find out what's the segment about. And then I'm trying to find out, okay, and are we going with lavalier mics? Like we're gonna hook people up to a lavalier mic, and then we're gonna have that run, through a feed or something, or are we gonna go with the traditional mic? And if I hear no, 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 we're gonna go with the traditional mic, then it's like, okay, well, obviously I need to make sure that the XLR cable is going to be long enough. There's no, weird weird bends or stuff isn't starting to come apart with the cord. Make sure everything is connected good. And usually I'm batshit crazy to the point where I'm like, yo, tell me what you have for breakfast. I need to do an audio check. you know, I'll have some people try to just do like do re mi fa sol la ti to, and it's like no 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 no. I need you to like tell me what happened when you woke up this morning. Tell me what you eat for breakfast. What are you looking forward to eating for lunch? What are you looking forward to for eating for dinner? Like I need like a good 60, 75 seconds of a person talking. That way I know, nah, that mic is good. Shouldn't be no issues. So the fact that Paul Heyman's mic was going out after like, I think it was about 10 seconds of him talking. Yeah, about 10 seconds of him talking. And he was having audio issues. I did a fucking face palm at that, but it kind of rebounded nicely there. So Brock Lesnar pretty much mouthing off, flipping the birds to Oba Femi. Oba giving it right back, reminding Brock Lesnar, this was pretty much regurgitating the same old usual stuff. Oba Femi, hey, I'm not going to be locked in a cage with you. You're going to be locked in a cage with me. Like, we've been hearing that now for the past couple of weeks. Doesn't mean that the match itself at SummerSlam is going to be bad. It should be fucking classic. But, we've seen this. It's been rehashed. Where I push back on WWE a little bit with the lazy booking, and I just go, I know we haven't done this in a good minute, but just stupid booking 101. Did we really need to have Obafemi be so irate that he decides that all the police officers, and we're told that apparently these are police officers. Yes, if that sounds like Groundhog Day, deja vu, trust me, there's no glitch in the system. There were police officers out there. I for the protection of Brock and Oba, making sure these men didn't lay their hands on one another and everything. But Oba so mad that he couldn't get his hands on Brock Lesnar, he decides to destroy all the police officers that's inside the ring with him. There was one guy I'm looking at, and I'm just going, okay, either you overestimated Oba's strength, or maybe you were trying to do something a little extra to try to get your 15 minutes of fame, and it almost backfired on your ass because this one dude that Oba ended up grabbing, dude was about to land on his back of his head and his fucking neck. And man, that would have been catastrophic. But Oba did a nice little save at the very end from preventing a huge accident, and reset himself, his footing, and all of that, and then did what he was trying to do to that little guy properly and all that. But yeah, he's laying out all these police officers. For me, it was stupid booking 101 because see, it's a combination of stupid booking 101 and then it's lazy booking 101 because it's like, my dudes, you just did this 2 weeks ago. like literally. And then you had Adam Pearce in a segment or two later say to Oba, hey, look, just so you know, those police officers, they were fake. And Oba's like, yes, I know they were fake. I know that Paul Heyman was just trying to hit me up with the mind games and all that. Right. Well, we didn't get that this time. And I couldn't help but look at this and go, so wait, as Oba is destroying these men, is he under the impression that this is more smoke and mirrors by Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar? Or he just don't give a fuck and he just wants to get his hands on. For me, I would have been smart Gray Hawk, and I just would have been like, yo, Triple H, can you get them to, call the guys in the back there? Can you get them to raise the cage? Just tell them to raise the cage. Like, that would have been it for me. No way, no how. I would have been standing there just, I would have really appreciated it. And here's how you add just that little fine touch to detail. I wish the commentators would have got on there, and I wish they would have said to us viewers at home, for you guys that's wondering, maybe why Oba doesn't just, or somebody just doesn't have the cage be raised up. I have it on good authority. They're actually having some mechanical issues right now. So that would have sufficed if they just, you had to get no technical, right? Don't need to get too technical. Just leave it at that. And then like, okay, so this is why it's still right. But little shit like that. And then when you have Oba beat up all these police officers, how do you not follow up and later on have Adam Pearce talking to Oba and going, Oba, what the fuck, man? And have Oba go, well, those were fake cops. Yeah. And Adam Pearce goes, no, Oba, those were not, those were actually the real deal. That wasn't smoke and mirrors this time. You know, how do you not like circle back to that? Like, actions have consequences, right? I wish we could have seen some type of a segment like that where unfortunately Oba gets arrested and you could have had a nice big old question mark in the air, a little cliffhanger for the rest of the week. Basically, what does this mean for Oba Femi? What does this mean for his status going in the SummerSlam weekend? Are we still going to get this match? Well, I guess we're continuing to advertise this until we're told otherwise. But what the hell? Like, I wish we could have done something along those lines, or hell, you could have had Adam Pearce say something along the lines of, Oba, what the hell were you thinking? Those were actual cops. Oba, oh, those weren't fake cops. No, those were the real deal. Luckily, we're friends with some of the good fine folks here and blah 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 blah. So you know you're gonna have to do some community service and pay a fine, but like you got to think smart when it comes to Brock Lesnar, especially when he's got Paul Heyman by his side. You gotta think smarter. Yeah, because if you don't, woo, they're gonna have your ass Sunday. Okay, Pierce, duly noted. Wish they could have done something like that. I don't know. It just kind of irked me out the wrong way. I don't know if it irked you all out, rubbed you all the wrong way, but for me, I definitely was not a fan of how that played out overall. We did have some in-ring action with Otis and Akira Tozawa teaming up to take on Austin Theory and Braun Breaker. Once again, that Jezebel, that sweet, cute blonde Jezebel, that is Maxine Dupree, the X Factor there as Otis. Poor Otis. Otis just keeps getting his poor little heart played, right? What was that song back in the day? Quit playing games with my heart. I don't know who sung that song. I don't know if that's a NSYNC. It probably is. I don't think that's a Backstreet Boys. You ladies out there know your music. Y'all know your boy bands. Let your man Lee know which boy band that was. But actually, I got one that will probably take a lot of people by surprise. How many of you all remember Rupert Holmes and his song Him? I discovered that song for the first time early last month in June. And I was just, whoa, this is brilliant. Like the lyrics and all that. I bring that song up because Otis just that needs to be his new theme song when it comes to Maxine Dupree and the whole situation with Austin Theory. So part of the lyrics, him, what's she gonna do about him, right? Look it up. Um, good song, but like Maxine Dupree, once again, playing at Otis's heartstrings, pretty much costing Otis and Akira the victory there. Kind of rinse repeat, it kind of gets to a point where you go, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, right? And now it's kind of like, okay, Otis, okay, Akira, like this is twice now. This is twice. So what are you gonna do here, right? Good tag match. As far as the tag match itself, it was actually pretty good. I actually like seeing the matchup more between Otis and Braun Breaker. I thought they gelled pretty well with one another. And then when you have little Akira in there just bumping like a motherfucker, right? I mean, he knows how to, put some extra mustard on that bad boy when it comes to selling and everything. Nice for what it was worth, but at this point, I'm just looking at this whole Vision 2.0 version, or it's probably not even 2.0 right now, right? It's probably now, what are we on now? Isn't this like 4.0 technically with Maxine? I'm just ready for them to, okay, enough with the small fries here. Let's go after some bigger fish, right? Like, what are we doing here? I'm still looking at Braun Breaker, and I know some people feel the way that they feel about Braun Breaker. They go, look, this guy got injured too many times. And as we've seen with Unreal, the latest clip, no, I have not watched the newest season of Unreal yet. I've been so busy. I do plan on checking it out this week at some point. I will give my thoughts on Unreal definitely next week. I promise you guys. Next Monday, I will have watched all the episodes. I actually was going to watch it this past weekend. But Tammy was like, yo, can we start watching Raising Canaan? Because I want to get caught up on this final season already. Because she knows I was, watching, because I think now they finished what, 6 episodes so far, and there's like 2 more to go. And she already knew I watched a handful of episodes, and she was like, hey, can you get me caught up to speed? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I had Unreal. It was ready to go. And I gave her the choice. She was like, let's come back to Unreal. So we did Raising Canaan. By the way, I'll talk later on during this show my thoughts about how Raising Canaan has been going so far. But yeah, I'm just ready to see Vision, kind of step it up already and move on. I feel as though the longer that we keep going down this rabbit hole with Akira and Otis, it's actually going to hurt the Vision more. That's, and is it just me, or does it also feel as though it's almost like, well, we'll just leave you guys floating here for now, and when Bronson Reed is ready and when Logan Paul is 100%, yeah, that's when we'll kind of circle back to that. I don't know if that's what creative has in their mind right now, or what, but I know going back to Braun Breaker when he got injured, and there's that infamous clip that's running around there where Bruce Pritchard gives Triple H Paul Levesque the news about Braun Breaker being injured again, and Triple H, like he's just in disbelief, right? I don't know, guys. I don't know, but some people feel a certain way about Braun Breaker. I know me, as far as how I feel about Braun Breaker. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago. I'm gonna say it again. If I can pick his ear, I'm just going, yo, pick your spots wisely. You don't need to do every single move. Not everything has to be powerfully explosive, right? You can dial it back some. If you want to do some big, cool WTF shit at the pay per view, that's fine. But still, you got to make sure that whatever you do, hey, you're gonna be coming out the very next night or night after that. Make sure that you're ready to go and everything. I agree with the recent comments that AJ Styles had made about what's going on with Braun Breaker. This guy should have been a world heavyweight champion by now. And it's interesting to see that with Unreal, one of the original plans was, they were going to do something there with Braun, but not because of the injury, but they just decided they were going to go in a different direction because Triple H, Paul Levesque was like, I don't want this to feel like we're forcing this guy down people's throats. And I can respect that. I can definitely respect that. Elsewhere on tonight's Raw, Rusev took on Javon Evans. That was actually a fun matchup. I believe Javon picked up the win. I was on a phone call during this matchup, so I saw about 90% of it. Um, I do kind of remember the finish. I thought this was actually a really good back and forth between Rusev and Javon Evans. Rusev continuing to just swing it out of the park with these opportunities. See, here's the thing. I love what Rusev was doing as Miro in AEW. Obviously, can't bring that to AEW. Correction, to WWE. Obviously, he can't, right? I don't mind the Bulgarian brute Rusev and everything, but I think my biggest issue has been, can we get back to the Rusev of yesteryear and everything? And it just seems as though it's far and few how we're seeing him utilized. Now, granted, he's been teaming up a lot with Ethan Page and all that, but this just kind of seemed like the first time in a good minute that, oh, okay, so Rusev is flying solo here. Not that it was a bad thing, but just I was already accustomed to the idea of Rusev and Ethan Page, and I kind of wanted to see more of that be flushed out and everything. But this was a nice speedster versus a powerhouse. I kind of like the matchup. Their styles actually gelled very, very well. One thing that I did not enjoy during this segment that just had me go WTF, and that is I was not a fan whatsoever of the Danhausen Joe Hendry concert. Let me ask you people, what the flying fuck was that? What the hell kind of segment was that? Like, seriously, I'm at a loss for words. I really, really am because, man, where do I even go with this? It was shit. Okay, this was like, there's no sugarcoating it. I love Danhausen too. That's the thing. I love the dude. And obviously, WWE loves this man as well because, right, everything that this man touches is money, right? It's printing them money. So, and WWE these days, it is all about what is feeding their algorithm when it comes to social media trends, the engagements, right? That's what they're paying attention to. They're paying attention to that ad revenue. And I get it. They're riding that Danhausen wave, but sooner or later, you just reach this ceiling where you go quality over quantity. And my longtime listeners know that's something that I have just said repeatedly. Like, I will beat you over the head with that any damn day of the week. And I have been for years. Like, in the long haul, quality always rules over quantity. And this is one of those segments where I wish, can we have that back? Because that was a poor misutilization of Danhausen. It really, really was. I just and Joe Hendry, what the fuck are we doing with Joe Hendry? Come on, man. Oh my God. I mean, look, I said here on the show, Joe Hendry has a great entrance. He's got the people in the palm of his hands, great little sing along and all that other stuff. As far as the wrestling goes, he's mediocre at best, nothing memorable, nothing flashy. But you know what? I'd be happy to work with that guy every single day of the week because I know after I'm done wrestling him, I ain't gonna have no back issues and all of that. I'll be walking to the back, ready to break dance and all that shit. But I'm just wow, like what are we doing here, guys? Like seriously, what are we doing here? So this whole concert was Joe Henry just going, I believe in Danhausen, you are cursed. And it's just, I believe you are cursed. Like, and then we had the dancers coming out there, and this was really, really, really this was atrocious. Please, WWE, please, for the love of God, quality over quantity. And you gotta make sure you're doing that, especially you gotta enforce that with Danhausen. Come on, man. Don't be whoring that guy out there just to be whoring him out there. Like, please, please don't. That and the segment, here's the other issue with the segment. The segment went way too long. I think what ultimately should have happened was at most the segment should have been 4 minutes. I'm probably being a little bit too generous there, but 4 minutes at most should have been the segment. And then they had the WBC interim lightweight champion or former WBC lightweight interim champion, Ryan Garcia. They introduced him at ringside with the other celebrities that was there, but apparently he ended up getting in the ring and attacking. I don't know if it was Joe Hendry he attacked first or if it was Danhausen, but he attacked somebody from behind. And then next thing you know, we had JD McDonough, Dirty Dom. They came out, they're beating the crap out of Danhausen and everything. Just, I get it. You're trying to emphasize the SummerSlam match that's happening this weekend between Dirty Dom and Danhausen. Like, that's great and everything, but this was one of the most dreaded, awful, horrendous, every negative word that you could think of. That was this segment. And shout out to Jason Solomon, my boy. That's been my boy for years. He put out a simple WTF tweet, and I'm like, yeah, right. I mean, this was really, really cringeworthy bad. So please, WWE, do better when it comes to Danhausen. I know you're trying to squeeze every single fucking dollar out of the man. And I know Danhausen is pretty much like obliging because his whole thing is as long as the check clears. But, we don't need this getting to a point where the fans are starting to feel alienated by this guy. And then you know, and it would be interesting to see how WWE would lean into it if it did go that route. But like, I don't want to see Danhausen get go away heat. That's the last thing I want to see for him, right? I mean, I've said here on the show for years, if you're a wrestler, your goal is to get some type of a reaction, be it good or bad, but just any reaction is better than no reaction at all because it helps you out with the longevity and everything, right? But you would just like to believe that this current incarnation of WWE powers that's in control, or put in control thanks to TKO, you would just like to believe that they don't want to alienate the fans. Now, first of all, some people would say they don't really care about the fans, but I tell you what, you don't want to alienate the fans to the point where merchandise sales are now down and this is down, this is down, this is like, let me tell you how bad the Danhausen like gravy train has been so far. I remember there was even a Danhausen event that was going on in WWE Supercard, where basically it was like for, I don't know, I think it was for almost a month. They had like a Danhausen event where if you unlocked certain limbs of his, you basically got yourself a foil card version of him. And then if you had collected all of these WWE uh, uh, toy versions of certain superstars, you were able to get a limited edition, uh, pretty powerful Danhausen card. And you're like, oh, wow, like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I just remember seeing in the comments online how many people were so just alienated by the fact that there was just so much Danhausen. Like, someone were trying to escape, and it's like, God, can you guys please stop with the Danhausen shit? So, like, I bring all that up to say, because I know some of you guys don't care about this WWE Supercard, but I'm bringing that up to say I'm already starting to see it grow over the past couple of weeks. There's already a little nice vocal amount of fans that's going, I'm tired of the Danhausen. He's making me nauseous, seeing too much of the guy. So there's that. Also, Rey Mysterio losing to Ethan Page. Okay matchup, but here's my greatest issue that I have with this matchup. Okay, you had Ethan Page defeat Rey Mysterio. Great. Cool. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to build from that? Are you doing something that essentially is going to set up Ethan Page to maybe cross over into AAA, and he says some shit like he's demanding to get, I don't know, a shot at the AAA championship or something like that? Like, what's the whole point of having Ethan Page defeat Rey Mysterio? I'll do you one better. What was really the whole point in having Rey Mysterio fight Ethan Page? Now, look. I know, oh, booyaka, booyaka, 619, booyaka, booyaka. Like, I hear you. I hear you. I love seeing Rey Mysterio. But I'm at a point in time right now where I cringe every single time I see Ray wrestle because of all the knee surgeries that he's had through the years. Many, many, many years. My whole thing is, if we're gonna have Rey Mysterio wrestle, let's make sure it's really noteworthy. It's for a very good cause. Let's make sure we're really, really sparingly utilizing him, right? Meanwhile, Dragunov, I don't know what's going on with that guy, but I'm just patiently waiting for him to get back on the saddle again so I can see him wrestle and everything. Like, there's quite a few people that I'm like, yo, haven't seen this person wrestle in a minute. What's going on with this person? Where's this person at? Like, I don't know. Like, okay match between the guys, but very baffling because I'm just going, why? Well, why is Rey Mysterio in this position? What are we doing? What are we hoping to gain here from Ethan Page defeating? Like, okay, so where are we going to go now? So, because if we come back on this show Monday night next week and we're not building from that, I got a problem with that. I got a serious problem with that. So Ruca losing her women's Intercontinental Championship against Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel, Big Mamacita, Raquel Rodriguez winning in style. She got busted open, had a bloody nose. How about that? Second week in a row. Essentially, we get somebody that's one of the women that gets bloodied there. Raquel won in great fashion. No, I'm happy for Raquel. Raquel has really, really been putting in the work. She has won me over week in, week out these past several months. I gotta be honest. Look, the Soul Ruca, and I've talked about it here on this show, talked about her at great length. Soul Ruca is gonna be one hell of a future multi-time women's champion. There's no doubt about that. But they brought her up just a little bit too soon. just a little bit too soon. And she still needs to be in the oven for just a little bit longer. Okay. I think they hot shotted her just a little bit too soon. I really wish they could have put her in a better position where she was getting some rub offs here and there, almost kind of similar to what was happening there with Lyra Valkyria. Now, some people also push back on that and say, well, Lee, Soul was getting a bit of a rub off. Hello. And no, I hear you. Like, we don't need to go down memory lane. Like, I hear you. I just wish it would have continued on afterwards. That's my whole point. Like, um, she's talented. She's talented when she's not in her own head. You feel where I'm coming from? Because we've seen those moments where some of the stuff that we've seen her do in NXT, we're like, okay, so this should be like night and day. This should be poetry in motion for you. This should be very easy, and it's almost like she's overthinking shit. And we see her damn near on the brink of causing a very serious accident for herself and her opponent and all that. So I don't mind them taking the Women's Intercontinental Championship off of Sol Ruca, especially if it means, hey, look, we're going to kind of reset just a little bit with Sol. We're going to maybe put her in a position where, she's just chasing after it for a little bit, or we just kind of knock her down to the next. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. If it'll help her, if it means that it'll help her in the long haul, then I'm totally okay with it. I will say this though. If there was going to be a title change, I wish we could have had these two wrestle SummerSlam weekend. That's all I'm saying. You let her hold it this long. We couldn't take this to SummerSlam and maybe let that be a pre-show matchup. By the way, from a media production standpoint, I got a bone to pick with WWE here. So twice during the Sol Ruca Rodriguez match, they put up this lower third graphic, right? It was an overlay. It was like an entire webcam overlay, basically, right? Screen overlay that they did. So you're watching Raquel and Sol go at it, but around them was this overlay for DiGiorno. Now, luckily, my big black ass know what DiGiorno is, right? We talking about DiGiorno's pizza, but the shit just said DiGiorno, right? And I'm looking at this and I'm just going, this overlay sucks. You guys got to go see what I'm talking about. If you missed it, check it out when you get a free minute. Like, all you got was this white, funky little overlay. Okay. And you got on the left-hand side of the screen just the text. DiGiorno's logo, right? You know it when you see it, right? You know your pizzas. You know the logo when you see it. So it says DiGiorno. And then you come right up under where the screen is of the girls fighting, right up under that at the bottom, you got Raw coverage continues. So you're kind of thinking, oh, we must be getting ready to go to a commercial break or something. And, I guess real quick, we're going to see a pizza commercial replace the girls. And then boom, we'll go right back into the action. We're going to put like a stinger overlay and then that's how we're going to do it. And they didn't do that. Right. And so WWE, I got a suggestion for you guys, right? It's not that hard, right? All you got to do, if you're going to do shit like this whole DiGiorno thing, you had so much white space on that left-hand side. All you guys needed to do was just type in DiGiorno pizza or DiGiorno pizza box, PNG, and a Bing or Google search. You would have got that image. How hard would it have been for you guys to then just take that image, open up paint.net or Adobe Photoshop, slap that bitch on your little screen overlay, load it up into your little program setter there, and then you're good to go. So I just thought that was really, really weird. I'm the type of person, I'm not going to rely so much on a word, right? I want, because I'm more of a visual, I'm very visual, but like I'm also the type of person that if I'm going to show you guys text, I want an image to be associated with it. So, if I'm going to throw up an advertisement for DiGiorno, I'm going to make sure that you all know without a shadow of doubt. I'm not going to assume that you all know what the fuck DiGiorno is, right? Especially when I don't even say DiGiorno's Pizza, right? I'm going to make sure I put in a fucking little logo in there so you know what it is that we're talking about. I mean, it makes sense, right? You guys probably aren't thinking that way, but like when you're thinking as far as like marketing, advertising, branding, and all, you got to think that way, right? You got to, right? Look how many years it's been since the Chihuahua was the spokesperson for Taco Bell. And you still have people to this day that will be like, psst, yo quiero Taco Bell. You still have that. Okay. It is what it is. When you think of KFC, you think of the little contour facial contour line drawing there of the Colonel Sanders. No relation, by the way, at least as far as I know. Right. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of quirky. We had a Usos and Solo Sikoa segment. Usos calling Solo out on his bullshit, pretty much thinking, yo, we see right through you. You're trying to figure out a way to get your ass back into the good graces, possibly of the tribal chief, but what you're doing right now, that ain't the way to be doing it. You need to stop faking and you need to just come on back to the family already. Solo having a different choice of words for that. Basically, bloodline, like y'all ain't the bloodline. Like the only bloodline that actually was legit was the bloodline that I was in. So like, nah, that ain't happening. Like you can forget about that. I gotta say, Solo segment tonight, just he's really, really starting to grow on me. He's kind of has this whole. It's interesting how his persona has just really started to click on with the fans and everything, because he's kind of having this Rocky Maivia young rock kind of moment. It's really cool watching him develop. I mean, he's definitely oozing with the charisma. I gotta say, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I love the footage that was running around too of him and over the weekend where he was participating in some type of a meet and greet, and there were some fans that he had saw. I think it was a woman, and he looked over in their direction, start busting up laughing, went in for the hug. I mean, he seems very, very. I'm telling you, when WWE finally decides to like really, really pull the trigger there on a full blown babyface Solo Sikoa, boy, they're gonna be printing some serious money, especially if they can figure out some type of a cool little catchphrase to give him as well to sell t-shirts and all of that. Look, if AEW can make Andrade El Idolo's how right? If they can make that go over, I have faith that WWE will be able to do something there with my man Solo Sikoa and everything. But basically, LA Knight comes out talking hot trash. And then from there, Knight decides, yo, since all four of us are here, let's go ahead and throw it down right now. So they all start brawling. Jacob Fatu ends up coming out trying to clean house. Then Powerhouse Hobbs comes out. Nice little stare down face off brawl there between Fatu and Powerhouse Hobbs. So nice little emphasis that they put on that 6-man tag match that's going to be happening between all of those guys coming up SummerSlam weekend. Nice little touch what they did. And then closing out this week's WWE RAW was Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. A little bit of regurgitation going on here, as it's interesting because I was watching this segment. I'm going, so who exactly is the bad guy here? Who exactly am I supposed to be rooting for? And who am I supposed to be shitting on? And I guess Seth Rollins is the bad guy. At least that's the impression I was given. If you guys are going in a different direction, let me know. But to hear Roman Reigns reiterate, yo, I have to beat you. I must beat you. And Seth Rollins going, hey, I remember you saying something like that before, and you talking about how you needed to beat me in front of your family. And that got me thinking about WrestleMania 31 when I cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase on your sorry ass, and just the look on your family's faces. And basically, Rollins saying to Roman, he hopes that he'll be able to, he hopes that Roman's family will be in attendance at this weekend SummerSlam because he wants to see that look that they had at WrestleMania 31 when all the dreams and all that was crushed there. He wants to see them crying again. And basically, he wants for Roman's kids to see how Roman is a disappointment, a failure, and strong words right there as Roman just fucking decked him right on his ass, hit him with a spear, decided to go outside the ring, grabbed his championship, was thinking about clocking Rollins over the head with it, but then decided, nah, I'm going to go for a steel chair again. There's that damn steel chair, that goddamn steel chair. Having shades of the betrayal, the Shield betrayal and everything. Like, they've been beating us over the head over and over and over with that over the past couple of weeks, like, and for years for that matter. Right when Roman slides the chair in there with himself into it at the same time, Rollins rebounds immediately, hits the curb stomp on Roman's head, hitting that steel chair, pretty much knocking his ass out. And so you're going once again, shit. Rollins has physically owned Roman Reigns. Like, is this not three now? Three times that? Because he owned him tonight. He owned him at MSG. And I feel like physically he owned his ass one other time, like 2 weeks ago. If I'm wrong, let me know. But is it safe to say Roman's going to get this? Like, Roman should actually get this. I think it's safe to say Roman's going to get this. I hope the match is good. Like really. I know I had talked about it last week. And just for those of you that didn't listen to last week, one of my main concerns was, I hope that both of these men and everybody that's involved in the production of this match, they just kind of forget about any and everything that happened with the previous matchups these two have had through the years. And instead, they just go, okay, what's the story we want to tell here? What's the direction we're trying to go? How are we going to make this memorable? How is this going to top the previous stuff that you guys have done? Because we know there's going to be that vocal amount of fans out there. Oh shit, not this again. No, we want them to go, yo, this was some really good shit that I saw, blew my expectations. Like, this was awesome. I'm glad that this ended up being a surprise good ass match. Like, wow, this was a match of the year candidate, and all of that. I know I was a little bit negative earlier about Ethan Page and Rey Mysterio, but I will say this. Good piece of business right there for Ethan Page getting the W over Rey Mysterio. But again, let's see what happens come next week and all that, how they're gonna build off of that and everything. Let's not forget too, with Raquel Rodriguez becoming the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Let's not forget there was a whole lot of shenanigans that was going on in the final moments of that matchup where Roxanne Perez came on out. She kind of got negated a little bit there by Solo. Solo. I'm getting my Soul Ruca and my Solo Sokoa mixed up. Sorry about that. Don't Solo. You get it. And then that had Liv Morgan eventually come out when Soul was able to negate Raquel. Then Io comes out. Io and Liv, they're brawling for a bit. Roxanne was the ace factor because there was something that was happening in the corner where Soul was up on the top rope in the corner. Referee was somehow distracted. Roxanne was able to take advantage of that little situation, pretty much helping set Raquel up for the win. Matter of fact, what was it Tijuana Bomb, right? And Roxanne able to pick up the W and all of that. Love the video packages too that we had got for SummerSlam. I didn't mind the newest installment that they did for Roman and Rollins. That was good. We also had a nice hype up video package for Chad Gable versus Penta. Went through the history of Chad, you know, trying to his championship gold, singles aspirations, and all that, coming so close yet short. We were able to revisit his rivalry with Gunther and all that, so that was nice. Going down memory lane there. The video packages for Liv and Io for SummerSlam, those were actually pretty good. I always love it when they let Io talk in her native language and they just do the English subtitle. That always nails it every single time. Decent, decent edition of Monday Night Raw. I'm more interested in seeing how SmackDown goes later this week. More interested in that one. I'm just big. I'm like hyped. I'm super hyped for the SmackDown joint because the SmackDown joint that's got Cody and Punk, that's got my man Nick Aldis and Gunther. Like I'm very excited to see how all of that is going to be playing out. So that is Raw in a nutshell. Let's see. Where do we go from here, my friends and family? I tell you what, let's talk about AEW Redemption. I did watch it over the weekend. I'm not going to give you guys a full-blown review, but I will talk about, you know, I'll give you guys all the results. For those of you that may not be aware, I'll definitely give you guys my overall thoughts about the card and everything. But first of all, Maya World defeating Sheeta for the TBS championship, I think it is. I love that. That is good. I love seeing that. I'm actually pulling up the card right now and I have it. Yeah, the AEW TBS championship, Maya World defeating Sheeta. Good matchup. Boy, Sheeta, she's gotten thicker. I love my women thick. So, like, I was looking at Sheeta, I'm going, good God Almighty, you know, like, okay, cool, you know. And it was funny because when I was watching this particular match, I said out loud, I said, damn. And my wife goes, what's wrong? I said, oh no, Sheeta. And she's seen Sheeta off and on through the years. And she's like, oh, that's Sheeta. I said, yeah. You know, because we both like we remember when Sheeta first started in AEW, she was a skinny little thing and all that. And you know, my girl goes, what do you think she eating? I said, I don't know, but she eating good. Yeah. Like, that was good. No, congratulations to Maya World. You know, here's this young woman, 24 years old, that has just taken the wrestling community by storm and everything. And she is just tearing it up, man. I'm like legit over the moon to back ecstatic for her and everything. She's got a bright career ahead of her. I mean, she's only 24 years of age, and I mean, and she's only been at this for just a couple of years, and like to just see where she is right now, because I need people to understand When I say she's only been at it for a couple of years, remember she made her debut like around she made her in-ring debut like around 2021, I think. So, she ain't been at it that long. And to be this damn good at this age, you just go, man, she's 24. Just imagine where she could potentially be 3 years from now or 4 years from now, and not even 30 yet, still, right? That is like insanely. She's very, very, very talented. I love her. She's awesome. And look, this is how you know that you're on my radar. When your match is that damn good, and I go out of my way to purposely slide into your DM and go, I really enjoyed your match. And then that's exactly what I said to her. Whether or not she replies or replied or not, I don't know. I do have the little, but like I haven't checked since I sent it because I wasn't looking for a reply back. I just wanted her to know, and I hope she found that message very, and it put a smile on her face because um I love that match that she had with Mercedes Monet some weeks back. I mean, that was really, really some good shit there. While I'm singing the praises of one sister, let me sing the praises of another. Shout out to Willow Nightingale, who is our new AEW Women's Champion, as she defeated Tekla at AEW Redemption. And truly, it was a redemption for her because remember, she had to relinquish. What was it? Was it the Ring of Honor Women's Championship? There was some championship that she had to relinquish due to injury, basically. And I know she's said publicly that she's been dealing with depression. Not because of that, but just, she's been dealing with depression off and on, for years and all that. And so, I know it's kind of funny when you hear that because you go, wait a minute, somebody that looks as good as you and you're seeing on TV every single week and you're making some decent money. What do you got to be depressed about? And remember something. I need for you guys that's thinking like that or know somebody that's thinking like that. Remember Robin Williams. Remember what Robin Williams. Once in a while, I like redecorating the man cave here and I'll adjust some pictures around and all that. But like one thing that like I still have not been able to, and I don't think I ever will because he meant that much to my childhood growing up. I have a People magazine cover of Robin Williams. It's the actual magazine. I remember I bought like a couple of copies of it, and there's one that's actually in a frame that's behind me. You can see it on the wall. I'm trying to, matter of fact, yeah, you can actually see it. It's actually, nah, you're not going to be able to see it because Galactus is kind of blocking the way a little bit. But remember Robin Williams? The dude loved to make people laugh and he was all about, what he emulated there, what he was projecting and all that. And like, you just don't know what's going on with a person internally. You just don't, So, look, if my man Anthony Bourdain, who got to eat with the president, and right, just think about all the people that he got to eat with. If that dude can off himself, right? That should let you know that in this world that we're in, again, just because you got the fame, you got the fortune, and it just seems like as far as your upstream mobility goes and your position in society, like, oh man, it's all on point. You're able to access all of these, great resources and your social network is expanding because of all of these things that you're able to do. What do you got to be depressed about? What do you get? Like, you can have all of those, but if the heart and the mind, right, emotionally, if you're not whole, if there's any part that's fragmented and you don't get that shit taken care of, shit's gonna creep up on you, right? Seriously. I mean, that's how it is. That's just how it is. So I know she's taking it one thing, one day at a time. And that's honestly the best way for Willow to continue to do it. I would say to Willow, continue to keep your head up and, hold on to whatever positive energy is coming your way and those in your circle that are of positivity, right? I've always had that mindset for many, many, many years now that if it's not of positivity, I don't want nothing to do with it. If it's a situation where I'm surrounded by people that are just always negative Nellies and, they ain't shit, they ain't doing shit, they're not doing anything to better themselves and all of that, I don't want nothing to do with that. I treat people how I want to be treated. And that's with respect, love, kindness. That's how I try to roll. So it put a big ass smile on my face to see her capture that AEW Women's Championship. And this was my first official front row seat to really experience Tekla. And boy, I tell you, I love me some Tekla. I'm kicking myself in the ass, going, man, I wish I could have seen more of her reign as the AEW Women's Champion and everything, because I missed a decent chunk. But man, what a performance that she had there against Willow and everything. So now at All In, what's that in August? It's going to be Willow taking on Mercedes Moné. That's going to be a damn good matchup. I'm looking forward to that one. The Painmaker, Chris Jericho. Shout out to Tony Khan, because man, Tony Khan went the extra distance for Chris Jericho as he bought the usage rights. And this was just for like one night only, because these guys, you got to pay them if you want their shit. Actually was able to work out a deal with one of my all-time favorite heavy metal bands of all time, Judas Priest. Got the Painmaker song. I love that song. I remember me and my best friend Brian, we would usually we were just kind of kicking it by ourselves and all that shit. We'd be playing some rock or some metal music. And boy, when Judas Priest used to come on, we'd be taking turns singing Rob Halford verses and shit, my ass. He's the Painmaker. Just oh my god. Yo, that Painmaker Chris Jericho match against Tommaso Ciampa, holy, and I apologize for blowing anybody's ears out. Jesus Christ. That Chris Jericho Tommaso Ciampa match, no holds barred, that was insanely good. I gotta tell you, I don't know if it was maybe a little bit of the high I was coming off of from last week's Dark Side of the Ring episode on Necro Butcher versus Samoa Joe, and that just kind of had me revisiting, my my younger days of being into the hardcore wrestling scene and all that. But man, they told a really good story. I gotta say, they told a really damn good story. It was a really good fight between those guys. I was a little bit wheezy when Jericho had got that power drill. I'm going, okay, how exactly are we gonna end this? Is Tommaso just gonna tap the fuck out? Because remember, up to that point, Jericho had grabbed an elbow of Spike Thumbtacks, and he pretty much did the Judas effect on Tommaso, went for the cover. Tommaso kicks out. Jericho's like, okay. And then he just said, fuck it, and went right for the power drill, turn that bad boy on. And I thought for sure that once Jericho got behind Tommaso was just going to tap out. But instead, Jericho, pretty much I don't mean to laugh. Seriously, I don't mean to laugh. But Jericho pretty much turns on the drill, and he's literally like getting ready to drill a fucking hole through Tommaso's head. And you're left with the impression that he did a little something, because immediately Tommaso tapped out, rolled out of the ring screaming and all that shit, bloodied and everything. So it was an insane, sick ass. So if you're keeping track at home, Painmaker Chris Jericho remains undefeated. It's actually a really good matchup. Andrade El Idolo defeating Mark Davis to become the new AEW national champion. How you know that? Oh god, Kenny Omega defeating Kevin Knight to retain the AEW World Championship. Afterwards is where things really I gotta say things is really got interesting by the end of this, because John Moxley, he had some tough love, strong, harsh words for Will Ospreay earlier in the night, and he basically was like, "Yo, there's a time to be nice, and there's a time where you just got to be a fucking killer." And Moxley was trying to help Ospreay see that, like, yo, you need to bring out that killer side in you, because if you don't bring that, Kenny Omega's going to eat your ass alive at All In. And so they did have a tag match. It was them against the Young Bucks, which the Young Bucks had won, and it was mainly because Will Ospreay would not pull that switch. He would not go into that whatever it takes. He wouldn't go there. And so he had a pep talk, Moxley did, with Ospreay backstage a little while after their match, and said, "Look, if you're not gonna do it, then I'm gonna have to take matters into my own hands." And so after that main event match between Kenny Omega and Kevin Knight, I love that Kevin Knight, by the way. That dude, I don't like his attire. I think his attire is a little. He's got an interesting choice for fashion. I didn't like what he was pushing at Redemption. I thought he looked goofy with what he was wearing. But he is a talented. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of a young, starting off Jay Lethal. The way he wrestles, he's got like this weird Jay Lethal meets Cedric Alexander combo that's going on about him. I really like it. He's very talented dude. Very talented dude. I gotta say, I was quite taken back by this match between he and Kenny Omega. But yeah, afterwards, the Death Riders came out. Will Ospreay gets in there, and he's not liking what's happening, and he's like, "Yo, no, not like this. No, fuck no, we're not doing it like this. Let him be." Moxley ends up getting in there and telling him, "Look, you got to tap into that killer instinct. You got to tap into it. This is how you become the AEW World Champion. Like, you got no choice." Gives him a plastic bag and tells him, "Yo, go ahead, put this over Omega's head, choke him out with it." Ospreay would not do it. He ended up attacking Moxley. And then the rest of the Death Riders, they all pretty much rolled out the ring pissed. Moxley's like, "I don't get you, dude. What the fuck? How could you? Of all people, like, how could you attack me? Like, what the fuck?" Rolled out. Ospreay picking up Kenny Omega. Looked like the pay-per-view was going to go off the air. Yeah, okay, two gentlemen. Nice. And they're going to duke it out at All In a couple of weeks. And then it was Kenny Omega that pretty much tapped into his killer instinct and laid out Will Ospreay. So, mm, 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 mm. Young man Ospreay paid for it. Can't help but wonder. I can't wait to watch Dynamite this week, because now it's going to be like, what type of Will Ospreay are we going to get because you know he's going to cross paths with Moxley and them. Is it going to be a case where Moxley is like, I told you, hey, all is forgiven. You now know what you got to do. Or is Moxley like, nah, man, you fucking attacked me. You know, you made your decision. Now you go on your own. Good luck. Looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. See if there's any other matches that kind of caught my eye from AEW Revolution. I'm just looking at the rest of the 10 matches that was on the card. Oh, you know what? The Cage and Cope versus Claudio Castagnoli and Pac tag team match for the AEW tag titles. That was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that. So at All In, it's going to be Cage and Cope versus the Young Bucks for the title. So that should actually be a really good match. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that match. I enjoyed AEW Redemption overall. I know I had polled you guys, and if you haven't voted yet, youtube.com/the RCWR show. We got a poll that's up asking you guys, what did you think of AEW Revolution? And I want to look at the results right now. Shout out to everybody that voted, by the way. I gave you guys 4 options. Right now, I see 14% of you are staying in the middle for AEW Redemption. Meanwhile, 29% of you said you either skipped or you were skipping it. And Top Dog, 57% of you gave the event a thumbs up. Appreciate you guys that cast your vote. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a great pay-per-view overall. So it was nice just kicking back, watching it and everything. By the way, whoa, before we continue, by the way, the Mick Foley with the Dominion, I don't know what the hell was going on with that. I remember when I was watching it in real time. So let me set this up for you guys. So during AEW Redemption, I know during the pre-show, Mick Foley was talking with Renee Paquette, Jeff Jarrett. They pretty much were doing the whole buy-in and all that, right? But during the pay-per-view, at one point, we have Lena Cross and Megan Bain in a backstage segment. You know, this is later on the official pay-per-view. And they're talking with Mick Foley, and they give him this chair as Lena's on the left, Bain is on the right, and there's a chair in the middle, and they have Mick Foley sit down. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, they about to give my man a strip tease or something? What they about to sit on his lap? What the hell are we doing here? And then they start, basically going, hey, is there anybody more hardcore, more deadlier, more beautiful, more? And Mick Foley goes, well, I think there's one team that could maybe give you a run for your money. How about the Brawling Birds? And then his interview with them just took this weird, unexpected turn where they basically told him, hey, you can bow down. And then he just starts barking. Like he doesn't literally bark like a dog, but he goes, bow, wow, bow, wow, bow, wow. And it was just the most perplexing. It was the weirdest thing I've seen. And Mick Foley has since commented, excuse me, he's commented on it. He's basically saying that it was, he heard it wrong. He thought they were saying, bow now, like bow wow. And I'm just going, as silly as that sounds, I actually believe Mick. Like I said, I mean, seriously, I actually believe him. It was way too. I don't know who was in charge of like the time cues and all that. But what I wish would have happened as soon as they started hearing Mick Foley do the whole bow wow, like I would have put two and two together and just been like, okay, camera two, we're coming to you right now. Let's go ahead and transition smoothly from this before it goes off the rails, because it's already becoming a little bit comical. And I know that's not what Tony Khan and crew. I know that's not the effect that they intended for with this segment. So really, really weird. All right, let's talk about some meat and potatoes here. All right, let's talk about this WWE Radio, WWE to Sirius XM. By now, you all know the deal. Like I said, this is my first time talking about it here on the show since the news went down and everything. But it was announced right before we went into the weekend that WWE signed the deal, partnering up with SiriusXM, basically replacing the Pro Wrestling 24/7 channel. I don't know what channel that is because I don't push SiriusXM. I know many times over the years, I have actually been gifted a SiriusXM subscription from family because they know how much of a big fan I am of Howard Stern. And I never got the opportunities to activate my subscription. So it got to a point where, if I was given a subscription, hey, how's that subscription? Oh, I haven't activated it yet. After 3, 4, 5, 6 months, hey, you want it? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. So my family stopped trying to get me a SiriusXM subscription. But WWE inked this deal with Sirius and all that, replacing the Pro Wrestling 24/7 network. And rightfully so, because from those that was commenting on, well, hey, I have Sirius and I do listen to the Pro Wrestling 24/7 channel. I mean, the content was kind of limited and it's just constant repeat, same old shit, basically. I mean, very, very limited, but like, I would imagine numbers wise and all that, it wasn't really doing that good, because if it was, then, maybe it would still have some type of longevity today. Maybe it would go to another XM channel, or I mean, your guess is as good as mine and everything, right? But it definitely has had the wrestling community, I won't say divided, but it's noticeable how there was a decent amount of people that basically were saying Dave LaGreca, uh, because when you think about this deal, you automatically think about Dave LaGreca and his Busted Open radio show. And, you think about the fact that, okay, and oh, look at this. Thunder Rosa. It's been revealed that she's no longer going to be part of Busted Open, but she was only doing sporadic appearances here and there. Saw the words that she had put out there, rather classy. We see Jonathan Coachman, who was doing a little something on Sirius. He pretty much has been shown the door, right? But everybody's looking at Dave LaGreca, and you got a decent amount of people that's going, this guy Dave LaGreca, he sold out. You've got others that's like, and this is what I don't understand, and you all will have to educate me on this, but like, if you're told that WWE has inked this deal, and as of Monday, July 27th, 2026, the WWE radio has launched, why do we have people saying, yo, are you guys going to be covering AEW? Are you guys going to be covering uh New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you guys going to be covering insert? Do you know how weird do you know how silly? I'm not going to say stupid, right? Because that's too strong of a word. Do you know how silly that sounds? Of course, they're not going to be covering New Japan Pro Wrestling. Of course, they're not going to be talking about AEW. Of course, because now it's like, yo, all you going to be talking about is WWE, right? And so it's had a lot of people, looking at this from a couple of different angles. And I know with my media broadcasting background, I've definitely dabbed into official professional radio and everything. I looked at this, and one of the first thoughts that came into mind, and I put this out on Twitter and YouTube. But one of the first things that came to mind was WWE to SiriusXM. Not shocked. This is what I actually said. WWE to SiriusXM. Not shocked. Stephanie McMahon told you the playbook in 2015. Philanthropy is the future of marketing. It's how brands win. If you're mad, cool. Go support independent wrestling media coverage instead. You can start right here with me and add from there. Now I do want to expand on, I mean, that's it in a nice, pretty little, right? Nice, pretty little bow around it and all that. But I do want to dive into this a little bit more, right? I saw what Dave LaGreca had put out there when, some of the people were like, well, what's going to happen? What does this mean for, AEW coverage? What does this mean for, covering this? And Dave LaGreca is putting out that video, and he goes, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. It's going to remain the same. Business as usual. Nothing's going to change. And it's like, motherfuckers, like, don't lie to your fan base like that. Don't do them don't insult their intelligence like that. Literally, WWE just inked a deal with SiriusXM. They've replaced what was the pro wrestling, they were okay. What the fuck do you think is going to get? You'll be lucky if TNA gets talked about. Right? You'll be lucky if and it seems that Nick Nemeth, apparently that he's safe, because he already made the announcement on his social media accounts that he's still going to be contributing to Busted Open, right? So, but and you can't help but wonder if maybe that olive branch with TNA on the WWE Radio network and all that, like, you can't help but wonder if that also will be extending to NWA, because I know WWE kind of has this nice little rapport going on with NWA. It'll be interesting to see how deeper that goes, if at all, and everything, right? But like, I've always been a firm believer that the greatest commodity that a show can have, that a podcaster can have, the greatest commodity that they can have is their listeners. You thought I was getting ready to say ad revenue, or no. It's the listeners. Whether you are doing a show and you only got 10 people that's checking it out for that whole week, or you're getting like 100 a week of listens, downloads, like, you're entertaining some type of an audience, right? No matter how small it is. Now look, maybe you just haven't figured out how to up your game with SEO, tagging, ranking, and all that other stuff, right? You sometimes you got to educate yourself, and then maybe it gets to a point where maybe you got to bring in an expert to kind of help you do a little bit of cleaning up and all that, right? But your heart is in it for the right reasons. And let me tell you something, this isn't for everybody. I tell you that right now. This isn't for everybody. I think the greatest misconception that a lot of people have when it comes to doing shows like this is, oh, all you got to do is just get in front of a microphone, and you just got to spit some random shit out there for like about an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then, yeah, slap that bad boy. It's done. Upload that bitch. Yeah, that's a show. Like, no, there's a lot of prepping that goes into it. There's a lot of research that goes into it, and you're going to be able to know who the real motherfuckers are long term wise, because it's like, okay, I see you during those first 3 months. Okay, I see you during, your first year. Okay, you're at it 2 years later. That's cute. Well, let's see if you're still here 5 years from now. Let's see if you're still doing this 7 years from now. Let's see if you're still doing this 10 years from now. Let's see if you're still doing this 15 years from now. Right? That's when you really start to weed out. And but then also on top of that, it also there's a caveat to that, which is also let's see how much in those years, quality wise, your content gets better, how much more well researched and prepared you are talking about, whatever you're going to be talking about and everything, right? And that's where when you combine all of those things where you really start weeding out motherfuckers, right? I say all that to say I look at Dave LaGreca and it's a great story. It's a really great story. I remember though him and the show, they used to shadow me around early on, way before they even got the Sirius XM deal. I remember those guys almost as far back. I think they were doing something on Blog Talk Radio, if I remember right. I know them and the boys at Ring Rust Radio. You know, it was an interesting beast way back then, and everything. But I know Dave LaGreca, he's been at it for years, upon years upon years. And when he had the opportunity to start working with Sirius XM, legit, I wasn't jealous at all. I actually was happy for him. True story, and longtime listeners remember this because I used to talk about it on the show all the time. I think I even still have the emails to this day if anybody questions it. But a long time ago, when we were first starting off, like after the first like handful of years, we came this close to being picked up by CBS Radio. I actually sat down. It was going to be we were going to get picked up by potentially by CBS Radio, and we were going to go to Sirius XM. And I remember I sat down, and way back then, Tammy was like, because she's just a guru when it comes to everything and anything public relations. And so, when she saw like the numbers that we were pulling in for the show, back in our classic years, our classic era, which would have been 2011 to 2016, she was like, yo, and we were printing money. Like that was the other thing that was great with us too. Like we rarely dealt with advertisers. Advertisers, we rarely dealt with them. We were like just doing our own thing in our own corner, just doing our own thing. And I went to the wifey and I said, look, I need help. I need you to be checking emails. I need you to, and I would break her off a little something and everything. And so one day she was like, look, I think we should maybe entertain taking the show to the next level. I said, you think so? She goes, yeah. I'm like, what do you think that looks like? She's like, maybe let's try to see if we can get you on FM radio, or maybe we can try to do Sirius. I said, okay. And so we started brainstorming as far as like who to who to hit up and everything. And we had met this nice guy through CBS Radio. Yeah, we did a phone interview with him, and we pitched to him the show and all of that. And this is how close we came to doing it. One of the caveats was they wanted to own all the content, even what we had produced up to that point of the RCWR show with Lee Sanders, and even episodes of Impact Showdown covering TNA. Like all of that would have to stop production. Like we could no longer produce any of those things. And what they mainly were interested in was the RCWR show. They wanted to take over the RCWR show and have that be branded, over on CBS Radio. And I remember saying to them, I don't know if I really want to do that. I'd like to continue to keep the YouTube thing just as it is. And maybe instead, what we can do is, maybe do like the Lee Sanders show, or, come up with whatever, wrestling name and all that. And they're like, okay, yeah, we might be able to work around that. And like, well, how are you when it comes to your own equipment? And I said, well, I got my own equipment. And back then I was pushing a Behringer Xenix mixer. I think it was an 8-channel joint, and I couldn't even tell you the webcam I had back then. But basically, I was going to be heading to Northwest DC, to a local CBS station, apparently, where basically all I had to do was like every couple of days drop off the audio for the show, and they pretty much would do it that way because they were thinking, nah, we're not going to have you be live. We'll just, and so, we cleaned everything up. We had a nice little, everything was good, ready to go. And, the guy that we talked to at CBS Radio, he was really, really, impressed. Like, yeah, this will definitely, this will work. Da, 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 da. Took it to his superiors. And basically, we got the bad news like about a week later that like, they kind of want to go in a different direction when it comes to potential wrestling content on their network and all that. And it was like, oh shit. So to see a guy like Dave LaGreca, be able to get in there, with the SiriusXM and all that, it's like, hey, awesome. Like that's good. Like, so for those that are independent wrestling media, entities, brands and all that, like if that's your end goal, right? Because I hate to burst that bubble. I hate to burst that bubble, but I will be real with you guys. Like, if you're doing a show slash podcasting as a hobby, just so you can have something to do, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should be aiming higher. And I know when I first started doing this, I never looked at it as a hobby. I felt like, yo, I'm seeing a lot of things in this crazy world of pro wrestling, entertainment, pop culture that I feel that I can bring a really nice approach to talking about. And yeah, for some listeners, they may feel that, I'm too much in the middle. I'm not really pro on some things. I'm not really against on some things. I'm too right. And some people may feel I'm a little bit too safe. Maybe they feel I'm a little bit too level-headed and all that other shit. They want something a little bit more edgier and all that other shit, right? Well, I'm sorry they feel that way, but I'm not going to change, right? It's not a case where, well, maybe if you press me hard. No, no, I'm going to always give it to you right between the eyes how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about something, right? I've always tried to look at things. Hey, if there's ways that this can be improved, I tell you how. If I have criticism, but it's constructive criticism, ways of improvement, I give it to you. If something just sucks, I tell you why it sucks. Right? I give praise where praise is due. Right? Doesn't mean I'm in the back pocket of anybody. Right? There used to be a time where people would go, oh, you're on WWE's payroll, and I would shut that shit down real quick. I'd tell them straight up. I said, well, fuck, that's news to me. Because if that's the case, tell them I'm waiting on a paycheck. Because I ain't getting no money from them. Like on the real, like I ain't getting no money from them. So tell them to holler at me already, right? So when I went into this, my whole thing was, hey, I feel I have something to offer, but at the same time, I want to perfect my craft in being a storyteller. And it's amazing how on that journey, I also started getting really serious about my education and finding my passion at the same time for what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, which was, hey, I want to be involved for the rest of my life. I want to be involved in media production, whether that's working behind the camera or in front of the camera or doing something involving radio, like I want to always be involved somehow with the entertainment industry. And I think this is, a couple of the ways that I can do it. I know how to write scripts for and treatments for television, screenplays and all that shit for television, radio, and movies and all of that. So I can dip into whatever I want to dip into. I'm that universal, right? So I've always had the mindset of, if you're going to be doing this, always have a goal in mind. Again, there's nothing wrong with if you want to just do it as a little hobby and you and your friends are kind of getting together and you're just shooting the shit and you want to be right. But I always say to people that try to get into this, they're like, hey, what's the number one thing? Like, make sure you're getting into it for all the right reasons. Don't let it be a case where it's monkey see, monkey do. Right? You're just trying to be a fucking copycat, right? Because you're gonna fail with that every single goddamn day of the week. And bringing it back to Dave LaGreca, you know, that's the journey that guy was on. What started off as it was more than just a hobby for Dave. It was a passion project. He felt that that a certain voice was missing, as far as calling out, certain things that he was noticing in the business that maybe other people were not noticing. And so, he decided to, you know what, let me do something about it. Maybe I can be one of those voices. And he's done it very, very well for years upon years upon years. And the same amount of people that have helped bring you to the dance, to tell them that nothing is going to change, it's going to be business as usual. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? It's now WWE Radio. What do you mean it's going to be the same as usual? And then to see him kind of lash out, get angry and talking about how, hey, it went from one show a week to, and it's like, no, come on, dude. Like, don't do that. I got to push back on that, because I think the right thing and the right way that he should have handled it, it should have been a case where he goes, hey, look, I know a lot of you guys have been with me almost since day one, and I appreciate you guys. This is a whole new day. This is a whole new era for myself and everybody involved. We're busted open, to be able to work in some capacity with the WWE. Wow, it's almost a dream come true. Not something I honestly expected, to be perfectly honest with you, but to be able to embark on this and be in a position where, as far as financial stability goes, I can really hook my family up. I really, I feel blessed. I feel humbled. There's, I think if he would have put that type of a statement out there, he wouldn't be getting some of the pushback that he's getting right now. That's the God's the honest truth. I won't mention the wrestling promotion that I'm thinking about right now, but I've had quite a few wrestling promotions over the years that were interested in somehow trying to acquire me for, like regular coverage of their promotion. I remember in our early days when we were doing the whole co-hosting deal. I remember we had a unique opportunity to partner up. This was way before Billy Corgan even came into play with the NWA, but we had an opportunity to potentially work with the NWA Florida promotion. because of this guy that apparently, from what I understand it, he was running the NWA Florida promotion and all that. And, he was, trying to set all set everything up so that me and my co-host at the time, so that we could be in that position where we could start, covering it and everything. But the more and more I started thinking about it, I was saying to myself, well, wait a minute, this is a particular niche. And unless we regularly have access to this content, how exactly can we continue to? Because the show was starting to morph. It didn't get to that point, but like we were talking about it behind the scenes, and it was like, wait a minute, right now we're going all over the place. We're talking about WWE, we're talking about TNA, we're talking about ROH, and it's like now the focus is just going to be on this one particular promotion that like nobody's able to watch. Like, how exactly is that going to kind of work itself out? And I remember ultimately I made the decision because it was mine alone. I said, yo, gotta pass on that. Like, this show needs to continue to be just the way it is right now. But instead I said to him, I said, look, I said, if you want to bring a wrestler on by the show, once in a while or a couple of times a month, like we'd be down with that. Like, that's no problem whatsoever. Um, but like there have been times where I've been courted by a wrestling promotion or two that was very, very, I'll tell you this, there's one, and you all will probably be able to figure it out. No, it's not. It's not WWE, it's not AEW at all. More on a smaller chain, but I brought them up quite a few times. There was one promotion that no matter how busy I got, these guys would always keep me in the loop and trying to see if I could do interviews. And when I told them, how serious I was starting to get about my education and all that, it ended with me basically telling them, look, let me do what I need to do, finish up my degrees. And, once I get all that squared away, I'll gladly circle back and we can kind of pick up right where we left off. Now, I've seen where if they've pivoted since then, they pretty much have gone in this direction where now they're trying to do in-house stuff with one of their people. And it's cute, but it doesn't quite match up the level of research, authenticity. Not that this person is fake, but like there's a big difference between how I would do it and hooking them up and how they're getting the hookup now. There's a big difference. It's like night and day. But like, don't think for one second that a lot of these people that have their own shows out here and all that, don't think for one second that the thought hasn't crossed their mind of, yo, what if this promotion were to hit them up, or what if this promotion were to hit them up? Would they jump? Hell yeah, they would jump on it, especially if it's a paying joint. They don't want to just do it just to have bragging rights. Oh, we got to interview this person and we got to interview that person. No, like if it means getting a steady paycheck, better enrichment for your life, for your family's life, and then you're going to do what you need to do, right? So I don't blame Dave LaGreca. What was Dave LaGreca supposed to do? Was he supposed to say, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this deal. Was he supposed to like, no. So I'm not mad at him. And I don't think anybody that is mad really needs to take a step back and be like, seriously, what are you really mad at? And I mean, not for nothing, but like when you go back to the whole WWE and everything, I mean, we've been kind of conditioned for this for such a long time. Yeah, it goes back to the Stephanie McMahon quote that I mentioned earlier, but it also goes back even further than that. Let's not also forget that Jim Ross had hosted a wrestling radio show back in the early 80s, 1990s, and it was a very successful radio show that he did. He hosted a weekly wrestling radio show out there in Oklahoma. It was on FM, AM sports radio, and it was one of the first mainstream wrestling talk shows out there in the country. It covered storylines, interviewed wrestlers, talked about behind the scene moves, even had call ins. And when JR eventually came to WWE, he was well aware about, JR's radio success was Vince McMahon. And, JR eventually pitched to Vince McMahon, yo, you know, any way we could do some stuff involving wrestling and radio. And Vince McMahon was like, well, based on what I've heard and everything, you've proven you got what it takes. Let's go ahead and let's do it. And so you saw that little experiment that you saw from back in the day and everything. So I'm not surprised to hear. If anything kind of takes me back a little bit, I'm just surprised that like it hasn't dominated sooner. I'm surprised moves like this hasn't happened for WWE sooner, right? Now, for those that are upset with, the direction that Busted Open, Dave LaGreca and crew is going in, and basically it means that like, oh man, I'm no longer gonna get that, here's what you need to remember. Shows like mine, which a lot of people still don't know about to this day, for as long as I've been on the air, a lot of people don't know about this show. You got independent shows like mine, like Wrestling Soup, like Jason Monster, like John Draper and the good kind folks over there at Spitball Media, right? Julian Cannon and the shows that he does from time to time. You've got just, Don Tony, who's been like the godfather of like all things podcasting and all of that, right? You've got a bunch of us independent folks that have been out there for years upon years upon years. That has no problem going all over the place talking about various wrestling promotions, headlines, all that stuff when it comes to the talk of pro wrestling. And so I would encourage you guys, if you have not made the investment in supporting independent wrestling media, like now than ever before is that time. From what I'm seeing, like it's going to continue to be, and this is the God's honest truth, it's going to continue to be business as usual for all of us that I just named. It's going to continue to be business as usual, right? And it's unfortunate that this WWE move has happened, because now for those that had the dreams or aspirations of maybe trying to do something on Sirius involving the talk of covering pro wrestling, and maybe you were trying to be a jack of all trades, trying to go all over the place and covering different promotions, you're not going to be able to get that love on Sirius. Now your best bet is maybe to try to see what you can do with iHeartRadio, or trying to see if you can do something exclusive with Spotify, trying to see if you can do something potentially on AM or FM radio, right? If you know the right people and all of that, So, that's what I think in a nutshell. I think now more than ever, from what I've seen over the years, I was telling somebody about this the other day. I think it's much harder, like in 2026 and beyond. I think it's much harder to try doing a show talking about wrestling and then really staying sane and diligent in the whole process of, yo, there's going to probably be some growing pains early on because you're probably not going to get the type of numbers that you're hoping for. Like, even once your shit is available for on demand and all the pretty little SEO tagging that you do and what you pay for in Google ads, and like, because there's just so much real estate that's out there. What are you going to do that's really going to make you truly stand out, right? What's going to really make you be memorable? What's going to, right? I think it's much harder in 2026 and beyond than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Cause like, boy, it was a different beast that back then, wasn't it? For those of you that were around 10, 15 years ago, it was a much different beast way back then. I look at guys like Scott McFarlane. He was a reporter for CBS. He ended up leaving, and he finally posted a video talking about why he left CBS Radio. I welcome you guys to check it out and everything, but basically he was like, independent media, like that's where it all is. And I got to tell you something. Being a independent show, nothing pleases me more than being in a position where I don't answer to nobody. I mean, I answer to you guys, and you guys let me hear it. You guys will go, Lee, man, damn, can you show this promotion some love? I want to hear your thoughts about, blah 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 promotion. Or Lee, can you talk a little bit about, right? And I always, but like, I love the fact that I can say what I want to say on this show, and I don't have to worry about somebody that, oh, yeah, Lee, hey, look, we need you to make sure you put in a good word for, or we need you to make sure. I love the fact that I don't have any of that bullshit that's going on. And if you notice, it's rare that we work with advertisers throughout the whole year. And usually when we do work with advertisers, I mean, really stop and think about this. If you've been listening to my shows for a long time, when have you ever heard me do a plug for a dick pill? Like, never. When have you ever heard me talking about, oh, get your gold bars, or, you know, um, boy, I love eating steak and ground beef, and you will too. Use my code Lee Sanders at Omaha Steaks. Like, never. You've never heard me use any of that fucking stupid, regular old bullshit series of ads that's going through all the fucking shows, right? I have purposely gone out of my way to have my own little portfolio of independent clients that I have hooked up with through networking, friend of a friend or colleague of a colleague, right? And that's pretty much how the networking has gone down. And we're fortunate from time to time to work with advertisers, right? And anything that happens, show expenses related, my own money from my jobs is being put back into the show like 90% of the time, year in and year out. you know so many people, and this is the other misconception that I noticed, so many people just think that like you can just turn on a webcam, do a show, and then start e-begging. Like, first of all, you got to give people the incentive. What is the incentive for them to come out of their pocket and give you money, right? What is the value that they're going to be getting for that money? If it's nothing, then 9 times out of 10, like, that person's not going to come out of their wallet, right? So, I like the fact that, as an independently owned show, we don't have to worry about pleasing certain people. We can say whatever we want to say, and if that ruffles some feathers, then that's going to ruffle some feathers. It is what it is. But yeah, man, now more than ever, it's that time to support independent wrestling media. So every like, comment, subscribing helps big time. Make sure that shit like what you're hearing right now, shows like mine, stays 100% independent. If you appreciate honest opinions, no corporate spins, you got to make sure that you're continuing to support shows like mine, like Solar Monster, like Don Tony, like Mission Joe from Wrestling Soup, like Speedball Media, like JD from New York. Like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So keep that in mind, y'all. A couple other things that we can get into here as we're kind of winding down. Did you guys hear about the Roxanne Perez stalking controversy? Did you guys hear about that? So there is this weird guy that was posting like a series of tweets on X/Twitter. He apparently and I have his handle. You guys will be able to look at it. I'm gonna pull it up in a second. But the guy's name and all that, I mean, you just look at his avatar, a picture of his face, and he says that he loves his future wife, Roxanne Perez. Just a creepy looking bastard. I gotta say to you guys, like legit. I'm gonna pull this up right now. Look at this. Is that, and I apologize for my audio listeners only. The timestamp you want is going to be at the 2-hour 12-minute mark. But yeah, Roxanne Perez, apparently a fan's disturbing social media posts claiming an obsession with Perez has sparked some widespread backlash and renewed concerns about wrestler safety. And look, I'm not gonna make fun of this dude. That's just beneath me. I don't do that. I don't do that. Like, if I was maybe still in my early 20s, maybe my early 30s, maybe I'd have some fun with it. But like seriously, I hope this young man gets back to a grip of reality and with the quickness. And I hope that whatever close friends, family members, loved ones that he has, I hope somehow they've become aware of what he's been posting in regards to Roxanne Perez, and they try to get him the much needed help that he needs. That's the thing. It amazes me. It really does, because we don't really hear too much about this when it comes to movie star actors, athletes. We don't. It's very, very small. I don't know why when it comes to pro wrestling, this keeps being a recurring thing. I've been trying to figure that out for the love of me. And every time I've asked that question to somebody, I've never been able to get a straight answer. Never. I remember even asking my grandmother, my aunt, and some of my cousins that were big into the soaps back in the day. I remember even asking them, like, hey, I've been noticing this thing with wrestling, and I would say to them, did you notice this kind of shit when it came to soap stars? And they were like, no. Like, really? Not even a weird little case here and there? And they're like, no. I'm like, wow, like that's amazing. Some fans are weird. I mean, legit. Some fans are weird. I'm not stumbling with my words, and I'm not at a loss for words, but just There are just legit some fans that just have a screw or two loose. That's just how it is. I don't know what's worse. A fan that has like this weird obsession with a particular wrestler, or a wrestling fan that inappropriately touches a wrestler that did not ask to be touched, or maybe both. It's actually a really good segue, honestly. I don't know if you guys had heard about this one, but Bronson Reed, he is catching a little bit of heat, and this is not good. Not good at all. So, Bronson Reed had shared a tweet saying there's an indie wrestler that uses his gimmick to touch female fans inappropriately. Let's stop this type of behavior. It's not funny, it's unprofessional. Now, that's a really good post, right? But the key word I want to home in on is the fact that he mentions indie wrestler. Okay, so this is somebody that does not work in WWE. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm hearing Bronson say this, I'm legit going, dude, spill the beans. Like, what's the name of the wrestler that is doing this with his gimmick? Like, legit. Well, Sarah Stock. Boy, Sarah Stock. I love me some Sarah Stock, man. If you got indoor plants, she is the person you need to be talking to. She will kind of give you a good idea what you're working with and how to take really good care of your plants. I got to check in with her and get her thoughts on my dumb cane. I've had this clipping of a dumb cane. It was just a stump when I got it from my horticulture class back in November of 2024. And I'll take a new picture of it so you guys can see where it is now. But like the leaves, it's massive. I think right now I've got like maybe 15 leaves that's growing with my dumb cane. Nice, big, rich, fat, green, wide leaves. I mean, it's all over the place. It's amazing. But Sarah Stock, who remember indie wrestler, was working behind the scenes in AEW for a handful of years and everything. Here's what she said in regards to what Bronson posted. This is so weak. You look worse than the perpetrator, admitting you see something disgusting while choosing to protect whoever's assaulting women. If you're calling out shit behavior, call out shit behavior all the way. Don't be a half hero. Your post just made you the problem. Who is assaulting women? She followed up as she said, I've been asking for at least 2 hours. Bronson Reed says there's a menace on the loose on the independent wrestling scene. He won't tell us who it is or how women can protect themselves. He just says, look, rape, carry on. What was your point, Bronson? To prove you're the reason the behavior is allowed to continue? What the fuck? Mission accomplished. You can leave now. Thanks. Those might have been some really strong words by Sarah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, when you really take a step back and you think about this, I think any one of us could maybe respect Bronson's position if it was a case where Bronson is like, okay, this wrestler actually works in WWE and right, he's not trying to get into because heaven forbid he's got to maybe work a match with this person or two or three, you know, but like that's not the case at all because he said indie guy. So what I don't understand is like, why don't you mention this person's name? Like you're working in WWE. Do you feel that your job is secured in WWE or like what's going on? Are you trying to make sure that when it's all said and done, if for whatever respected reason in the distant future you happen to be released from WWE and you need some options, you're trying to make sure that you can land that plane at wherever this promotion is that this indie guy is at. Is that what's going on? So to Sarah's point, it's really a very valid point, because if you are going to commit to this and you are going to jump out there, then it's all or nothing at all. Kind of quoting one of my favorite Frank Sinatra songs. Well, it's absolutely one of my favorites too, legit. I, you know, uh, I think he did do a little bit more harm than good. I think the intent. I think the intent was well intended, but I don't think he really took a step back to really think about, well, wait a minute here. Ah, do I really want to put this out here? Because, right, that's why, again, it goes back to that goddamn golden rule. Y'all know the golden rule that I have, which is if I'm getting ready to put it out there on social media, before I hit that send button, I just got to look at it. And if I hesitate even for 1 second, that shit ain't getting posted. That's just how it is. That shit is not getting posted. I need more of you guys to make sure, especially you wrestlers out there trying to get on top of your social media games and all that. Like, really need you to get on top of that. Seriously, save you guys a lot of good. Sheamus recently spoke about his WWE departure. I don't know if it was TMZ that caught up with him or what here, but I saw the video. I meant to jot down, giving credit where the credit is due, but he was quoted in this video saying some circumstances came up. I can't really talk about it, obviously, but 19 years is a long time and a good crack. I left Ireland in 07, so I haven't really had the luxury to go home, see my family, and see my friends. The last couple of weeks now, I've had a chance to kind of restructure that, get back and catch up on birthdays and missed opportunities. I've got a nephew and a niece back home, Theo and Sophia. Love the kids, and I get to see them more. They're awesome. 6 and 4. I think many of us can definitely relate to what Sheamus is talking about here. You don't have to be a wrestler to understand where Sheamus is coming from. Maybe in your own personal life, you can look at it from just an employer standpoint. Maybe you have been working so many long, excruciating hours for the same employer, and you really don't get to see enough of home. You don't get to see enough of your significant other, your pets, and or your kids. For some of you, your pets are your kids, right? And you wish that there was more of a better balance. You're missing people's birthdays, you're missing people's anniversaries, and the older that you get, you're like, man, I just really want to fucking stop and kind of slow things down a little bit so that I can enjoy life, because I'm really missing out. All I'm doing is work. I'm reminded of a line, one of my favorite lines from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And the line is, and you guys will know exactly, you probably already know the line, but it goes, if you work for a living, why do you work for a living? That may sound stupid to you guys, but if you really watch that clip in question and really apply it to what we're talking about right now, like it makes a whole lot of sense. It really, really does. So it's nice to hear that Sheamus is just really taking his time and is enjoying this period that he has off right now. Of course, there's rumors running around that WWE apparently, like, his contract is not officially going to be up until October or whatever, or he has this clause in his contract that he's not going to be a free agent until October. or something along those lines. So, look, if they're paying this dude while he basically gets to do his thing, Sheamus, enjoy every single goddamn minute of it because you've earned it. And honestly, I think it's a damn travesty. I really hope that WWE is able to work something out with the Celtic Warrior. Even if it's a case like, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. He's in the millions when it comes to subscribers for his Celtic Warrior workout YouTube channel. So I don't know if WWE had a part in building that, but like if they did, they definitely need to be looking at that going, well, maybe we could somehow just get him as a brand ambassador, like a global ambassador, go scout talents for us and all that other shit. And, we can still have him be part of our network as far as producing original content. That's literally what WWE kind of said to themselves when it came to New Day with the whole up, up, down, down stuff. So I hope they're keeping that in mind. I really, really do. Not to mention, you're going to need some new content anyway for your, what's that shit? Club WWE. I have heard the laughs and everything when it comes to Club WWE. I remember hearing some of the chatter of like their lack of content that's on there right now. And I came this close. I was actually getting ready to put down the $100 to get my Club WWE on. And I told my girl about it. I said, honey, da 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 da. And wifey goes, yeah, nah. That don't sound like big bang for the buck, does it? She goes, no. She's like, you'd be better off like putting that money towards getting my mom a new TV. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. Which, by the way, we got a this brand new. My mother-in-law. I know a lot of you guys. I told you all what's been going on with my mother-in-law and all that. So she her leg finally stopped bleeding. Because remember they put a tube in her leg because there was still blood that was coming out and all that. They did have to go in, do some reattachments, and she's been good for the past several days. They had downgraded her from basically ICU because there was a lot going on with her vitals, all that shit. They downgraded her, and after a couple of days, they started to have her move around. She eventually got transferred to another hospital where she could do some intense physical therapy, and that's been going pretty good. She's been walking around and everything. I think as of yesterday or the day before, they just had her start doing steps. So if everything continues to go well and there's no complications with her leg as far as bleeding and all that goes, she could be released by Friday. And so I said to the wife, I said, we got to do something cool for your mom. I want to get her something really nice, some type of a really cool, um, welcome home present for her. And I know one of the things that she was kind of having issues with because she's kind of getting up there in age. She's not really good with some of these new TVs. Um, and what I mean by that is like she's used to having a remote control that she can just speak into it and she can launch whatever she's trying to launch basically, right? So I got her she's had this Roku on her Vizio TV. It's a Vizio TV though from like 20 years ago. I tried seeing if this Vizio remote that I have could somehow make that Vizio TV power on and off and control the volume. Can't do any of that shit because the TV's so fucking old. Good TV though. So I said, look, I said, she's a big football fan too. I said, well, why not? Let's get her a bigger TV. So as you guys know, we got like a 75-inch Samsung TV that's in our bedroom. And so I said, well, let me see if I can get her like maybe a 55 inch. And my wife is like, that's going to be too big for her. I was like, no, I said, she'll be fine. Like she'll be able to fit that. Like that's easy. She's like, really? I said, that's going to be easy. Like bet. So we went, we did some measurements. We're like, yeah, she's going to be all right. We found literally the same model that we are pushing, that we've been pushing for years now, which is a UHD, a Crystal UHD, I think 8000 series Samsung TV. So we got her a 55 inch. Get this, for like $290, I think. That's a pretty good deal, right? For a 55 inch. If you guys are interested, on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Check that out. But yeah, she's doing good. I'm very, very happy. Looking forward to seeing her. She's been just in that hospital, she's been telling us like the food is bad. The food is bad. And then finally we were like, what is it about the food that's bad exactly? And maybe for those of you that work in the healthcare field, you could shed a little bit of light on this. But basically, she was saying that every single time her food is revealed, like the lid is taken off of the food, just basically the way the steam and everything was hitting against the lid and like the material that the food is in, like the trays or whatever, bounces off this like weird chemically kind of smell apparently. And I thought that was like the weirdest thing I ever fucking heard. And so she's not really eating hardly any of the hospital food, even though she really is supposed to. But she's doing good. She's doing good. Let's see what else. The Janel Grant lawsuit with against Vince McMahon looks like that is officially coming to an end. I don't think we're really surprised by that. Yeah, although I gotta say I was hoping that Janelle Grant was going to fight the good fight, see this to the very end, and it sucks, don't it? Because it almost makes it look like, well, damn, if Vince would have just paid the money initially, this shit would have never, ever, ever even seen the light of day. If Vince would have just kept up with his payments, this woman would have been quiet. Fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Hey, let's preview SummerSlam for you. We're not going to get into predictions here on this show. I just want to read to you guys how the SummerSlam card is officially looking. We now know how the card is going to be looking for both nights. So August 1st, we've got Liv Morgan, and we're going to get into predictions. What we're going to do, be subscribed to the YouTube channel. We're going to first do a drop for SummerSlam night 1 predictions, and I think we'll come back on Wednesday with night 2 predictions. I'm thinking maybe I will have those be pre-recorded, and then we'll just schedule them to go live in the early afternoon. So actually, let's make that Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday, we'll kind of do it like that. All right, we got Liv Morgan defending the women's championship against Io Sky. Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell. CM Punk defending the undisputed championship against Cody Rhodes. Elsewhere, 6-man tag match as LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys takes on the Bloodlines, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy and Jey Uso. Gunther versus Nick Aldis, 1-on-1. And we got a 6-woman tag match as the Bella Twins. That's Nikki and Brie. And Paige will take on Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Laney Reed, and Fallon Henley. Wonder if the Bellas turn on Paige on this one. Night 2 of SummerSlam, which is August 2nd, Sunday. We got Roman Reigns defending the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event against Seth Rollins. Penta defending his Intercontinental Championship versus Chad Gable. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, Chelsea Green, Charlotte Flair, Julia or Lash Legend. It's a 5-way ladder match for the interim WWE Women's Championship. Also, Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio. My God, that Raw segment was so stupid. I almost forgot about that. Adam Pearce added a joint to this match. It's not going to be any old match. It's going to be a human monies on a pole match. The winner will keep the $100,000 Danhausen stole from the Judgment Day. Elsewhere, Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor, #1 contender for the undisputed WWE Championship. And Trek Williams defends his United States Championship against Baron Corbin, the lone wolf, Baron Corbin. So that is how SummerSlam weekend is looking. 12 matches total across those 2 nights. Event is going to be starting off at 6 p.m. I think 6 p.m. is maybe the pre-show, and then 7 is the main, or maybe it's 6 p.m. is the start time of the actual show, and then they just kind of go from there. But I will be on both nights live with you guys for all of that, so look out for that. It's going to be good. Going to have a good time. Real quick, my thoughts on LeBron James joining the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't want to hear any more about the LeBron James, Michael Jordan debate. Okay? Like, I grew up on Michael Jordan. I definitely grew up on LeBron James. Like, I don't want to hear any more. Because could you just imagine if Michael Jordan just kept bouncing around from team to team to team to team to team, padding fucking stats? Like, trust me, huge of a MJ fan as I am, even I would be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, if it was a case where LeBron had signed to Cleveland, I'd be like, oh, okay, he wants to put a pretty little ribbon on this. He wants to, he's going to end his career in Cleveland. Okay, all right, cool. But Jesus, pimping ain't easy, man. I mean, seriously, pimping is not easy at all. Like I just laughed when I heard this news. I did, because it was wow for me. Santos Escobar revealed that he's beginning a new chapter, as he announced on social media that his new character, Romeo Malverde, yeah. Okay, that's the name that he's going with. Okay, cool. And then Mike Santana, he's got a new name. He's not going to be wrestling in NXT. That was a great debut that he made against Tony D'Angelo. Look, and if that's the direction that they're going to be going, is Mike Santana the new NXT World Champion? Like, make it happen. I'm down with that, because it's been the drizzles with Tony D as the champion. Just being honest, not hating. I'm just being honest, stating the fact. But yeah, Mike Santana, a lot of people are upset, but I don't have a problem with the new name that Mike Santana is going to be going under. Cruz Santana. And basically, this new name that he's going under, he's paying tribute to his father. So it actually sounds like a really cool name. I've heard some terrible names. This is not a terrible name whatsoever. I don't mind that name. I really, really don't. We were already conditioned with some of the reports that were floating around that WWE was going to stop letting some of these people that were signing WWE deals and all that, come in with their indie names, because they kind of want to get back more to their own in-house branding and all that. So, this makes a lot of sense. It's good. I like the name. Sounds really good. Suits him. It suits him. Happy trails to the woman formerly known as Alicia Fox, Victoria Crawford. She has been released by TNA. Very unfortunate. Also, Tony Khan had did a AEW Redemption Scrum ahead of the pay-per-view over the weekend, and he shedded light on Anna Jay and Tay Mello's status in AEW, saying that Anna is out injured right now, went out for an MRI last week, and that she's in good standing with AEW. No issues with her whatsoever. He did confirm that Tay Mello had asked for her release, but that it actually happened a couple of weeks ago, contrary to some of the inaccurate reports that's floating around out there in wrestling media, not in 2025 as it was initially reported. Tony Khan saying that he was going to go on ahead and grant Tay Mello's release. Interesting stuff coming about from the San Diego Comic-Con over the weekend. We now know the Marvel studio as they release the upcoming movie slates. So we know that Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be dropping this Friday, actually. Got to make sure I secure tickets for that bad boy. And then weekend of my birthday, we got Avengers Doomsday on December 18th. And then fast forward to 2027, December 17th, Avengers Secret War. And then fast forward to December 15th, 2028, we have Black Panther 3. And apparently we have a new Black Panther that's going to be taking the helm. I was quite pleased to hear this news as David Johnson. He's going to be playing T'Chilla's grown son in Black Panther 3. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the young man is going to be able to do in that role. I've seen just a couple of his movies, and I'm quite impressed with the young actor. I think Ryan Coogler and crew, they did well in selecting him for the role and everything. And then let's not also forget, did I mention in 2028 Ghost Rider? I mean, holy shit, we get Ghost Rider, but like, remember something here. It's not going to be Nicolas Cage. We know he's busy right now with the Spider-Man Noir and everything. I have yet to watch that too on Prime Video. I have yet to watch that. But our new Ghost Rider is going to be Ryan Gosling. He has been cast as Ghost Rider. So can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do. Apparently, him and Kevin Feige of Marvel Studios, they've been kind of floating around each other for a couple of years, just trying to come up with the right situation, right story, and all of that. And it seems like now everything has finally come together, and they finally inked the deal and got it done. So that's good. Shout out to my man Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane had revealed that he has a unreleased animated Spawn movie that's fully voiced, and that as far as the voice roles, Keith David coming back did Spawn, and then Mark Hamill did the voice of Twitch. My mind is just blown at that. Go check out the interview. I think Comic Book Movie has it up, and I was just reading that, and I'm just going, whoa, because like one of my favorite animated series of all time, it was years ahead of its time, was the HBO animated series Spawn. It only ran for 3 seasons. It was nominated for so many awards. I mean, that thing was just, it was years ahead of its time. And here's the thing, you can watch that in 2026 and beyond, and it feels like this shit was just released like last week. It is that current. I love it. So to hear that this was this was done, that kind of like a follow-up to that animated series was done. And the way Todd McFarlane is picturing it, it's basically, hey, I'm so focused on the live action movie right now. And if the live action movie does really, really good, then maybe we can launch this animated movie and then kind of do a series from that. I'm like, okay, all right, cool, right? So now I really want to see like what's going on with that. And then coming soon for you comic book collectors out there, absolute deluxe editions of Volume 1 for Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. I don't know the exact dates for that just yet, but it's coming. Also, I was talking about Prime Video earlier. Don't forget this Friday as well, besides Spider-Man Brand New Day, the second season of Batman Caped Crusader drops on Prime Video. So a lot of cool stuff to be getting into this week and everything. Beyond that, I know Walking Dead City season 3 had premiered. They're off to a really decent start. I want to watch that one more time before I'm really able to give some thoughts on that one, because I kind of was in cruise control when it came to that. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. If you guys do not know, it's in its final season right now. There's only 2 more episodes left. I'm telling you right now, I think Juke is going to end up killing Pops and Snap. I really do believe that. I think she's going to end up. Now, see, some people feel that maybe Juke is going to end up killing the little girl, and that's going to put her at a crossroads with her father, Marvin. I could see that. That would be some very interesting. The only male that she does have feelings for, because we know she's a lesbian, and that she hid that for like a long time, and everything, and it took a while for Marvin to adjust to that, but he became very embracing of it and all that. But man, that would be some very interesting storytelling if but I'm having a hard time seeing Juke do that. I don't think Juke would do that, especially since Marvin was like, hey, if anything bad ever happens to me, like I'm having a hard time picturing that. No, I think if anything, I think Juke is gonna take out. I don't think she's gonna take both Pops and Snap out. I think she's gonna take one of them out. That much I know for sure. I think Marvin's probably going to get in some type of a shootout with Breeze, and he's going to end up losing that. That's just my 2 cents from a distance there. Kanan, I don't know. I think Kanan's going to end up taking out Stefano. Like legit. I think Kanan's going to end up taking out Stefano. That's my bold prediction, which by the way, can we give Tony Danza his flowers? I mean, dude has just he's been killing it on that show the past couple of seasons, like legit. Hey, before we get ready to roll out, I want to take this time out. Thank you guys that's been representing, checking out the show. As always, whether you're representing live when we're on the air or you're checking out the show for on demand and on the downloads, appreciate you guys as always. Was actually taking a look at the numbers over the weekend, and I saw that United States, Venezuela, Thailand were in the top 10 for regions this week. So shout out to you guys. And as far as the United States go, I definitely saw DC was representing, Maryland was representing, New York was representing, Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina, California. We got some love in Texas too. So shout out to my people in Texas. That was kind of cool. All right. So make sure you're staying connected on YouTube, as Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to drop parts 1 and 2 for SummerSlam predictions. I'll try to make that be as condensed as possible, but it'll be great little companion pieces to what you got here tonight for this super deluxe edition. I hope you appreciated this super deluxe edition. We don't normally go this long, but there was a lot of ground that we had to cover on this show. So yeah. Let's see. Be kind, rewind. Yeah. Check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. You can also get at me on social media using the same keywords, the RCWR show. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, make sure you do. YouTube.com/the RCWR show. Now more than ever. If you haven't been doing your part in supporting independent wrestling media, like what you've been checking out here, now's a good time to start. Like what the hell's been taking you so long, right? Make that change today, right? That's how you do it. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you guys for your SummerSlam predictions and SummerSlam night 1 and 2 live post-show coverage. Until next go around, wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. Take care.